Namaste, and welcome to The Explainer. When you first look at today's headlines, it seems like a complete jumble. A city battling floods, a shiny new airport on the horizon, some tricky diplomatic moves, but I promise you, by the time we're done here, you're gonna see how it's all part of one single incredible story. So, let's get into it. Okay, let's just dive right into this. When you scan the news for August 20th, it really does feel like total chaos, doesn't it? I mean, over here, you've got these insane monsoon rains hammering one part of the country. Then, way over there, a brand new airport gets the green light. Oh, and by the way, there are new rules for how you pack your bags on a train. And to top it all off, our external affairs minister is jetting off to Russia. It feels completely random, just a whirlwind of disconnected information that's supposed to make sense. But what if they're not random at all? What if every single one of these events, from a monorail grinding to a halt in Mumbai to a new mining bill being debated in Parliament, what if they're all just different puzzle pieces? Different chapters of one massive, unfolding narrative about India today? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to connect the dots and pull on the hidden threads that tie all of these headlines together.
So, what's the game plan? How are we going to make sense of this? We've broken it down into 5 parts. First, we'll look at the ground reality. A nation under pressure. Then, we'll see how the system is trying to build its way out of that pressure in a section we're calling Blueprints, Bills, and Baggage. After that, we'll zoom way out to the global chessboard to see how India's moves fit into the world picture. Then, we'll zoom right back in to look at the tug-of-war between power, press, and people. And finally, we'll wrap it all up with what really matters, the stories of a billion.
So let's get started. Section 1, a nation under pressure. This is all about the real, physical, tangible stress our country is dealing with right this minute, from the weather itself to the infrastructure that's supposed to handle it.
In a nation as big and as complicated as India, nothing ever happens in a vacuum. No single event is an island. And as we're about to see, when the pressure really starts to build, it almost always comes down to the plumbing.
Our first stop is Maharashtra, where the monsoon has been absolutely brutal. We're looking at some truly tragic reports, with at least 15 lives lost. And Mumbai, well, Mumbai got hit with 350 millimeters of rain. That's a staggering amount, and it led to the kind of chaos you might expect. Streets turned into rivers, transportation grinding to a halt, and outside the city, just devastating damage to crops. It's a scene that, unfortunately, feels all too familiar.
And this brings us to a really crucial point. Our take on this is that just calling it a natural disaster kind of misses the forest for the trees. This is becoming a recurring man-made crisis. It's a story about drains, roads, and transport systems, the very bones of our cities that just can't keep up with the demands we put on them. The rain might be an act of nature, but the scale of the chaos, that's on us.
And if you want a perfect textbook example of what this pressure looks like, look no further than the Mumbai monorail incident. This is what systems engineers call a cascade failure. So step 1, the local trains, the absolute lifeline of the city, shut down because of the flooding. Okay, so what happens next? Everyone who can rushes to the monorail. But here's the problem. The monorail was never built to handle that kind of sudden, massive surge. The system gets overloaded, the power grid fails, and bam! You've got 2 trains stuck high up on a track with 800 people trapped inside. See? One failure just triggers the next one, like a line of dominoes.
And listen, this isn't just a Mumbai problem. Not by a long shot. Let's travel north to our capital, Delhi. Right now, the Yamuna River is flowing above the danger mark. And why is that? Because heavy rains upstream in Haryana meant the authorities at the Hatni Kund barrage had to release a huge volume of water downstream. So, the rain in one state becomes a potential flood in another. It's all connected.
This creates a kind of permanent state of civic anxiety. In the winter, everyone in Delhi is obsessed with the AQI, the air quality index, worrying about every breath. And now, in the monsoon, they're glued to the river level reports, worrying about water lapping at their doors. It's 2 different cities, 2 different problems related to water, but it's telling the exact same story. A nation whose environment and infrastructure are groaning under the strain.
Okay, so if the country is under all this pressure, what's being done about it? Well, that leads us straight into Section 2, Blueprints, Bills, and Baggage. This is about the official response, the gigantic projects, the new laws, and yeah, even the small new rules that are all designed to manage, control, and hopefully build a better future. So let's talk about that response. And it begins with some absolutely massive numbers. First up, 8,307 crore rupees. It's a number so big it's hard to even picture.
What does that buy you? It buys a 111-kilometer-long, 6-lane ring road around Cuttack and Bunnavar. This is way more than just a road to ease traffic jams. It's a massive bet on creating a super-efficient economic artery for the entire region.
And the spending doesn't stop there. Here's another one. 1,507 crore rupees. This chunk of money is going towards building a brand new, from-scratch greenfield airport in Rajasthan to serve the Kota Bundi area. You have to understand, these aren't just random projects. They're huge, deliberate, long-term investments in India's future growth, trying to build the capacity we're going to need before the pressure gets even worse.
So you might be asking, why an airport in Kota of all places? And this is where it gets really smart. Kota, as you know, is the coaching capital of India. It's a hub for millions of students. So building an airport here isn't really about tourism, it's a direct investment in our country's gigantic human capital industry. You're building infrastructure to support the movement of people who are literally the future of the economy.
But the response isn't all just about concrete and steel. It's also about policy and law. Parliament just passed a new Mines and Minerals Bill. Now, that sounds pretty dry, I know, but here's what it does in simple terms. It gives the government more power and more money to go out and look for important minerals, and it creates a clear, transparent market to trade them. The real question is, what kind of minerals are we talking about?
And here is our take on it, which I think makes it all crystal clear. India knows that the future is electric. It runs on batteries, on green energy. And what do you need for all that? You need critical minerals like lithium and cobalt. So right now, India is basically on a global shopping spree for these things. And this new bill, it's like giving the government a much bigger, better funded, and more organized shopping cart to go out and get what we need.
So while the government is making these huge nation-building plans, the response also trickles all the way down to you and me. Indian Railways is getting serious about enforcing stricter airline-style baggage rules. So yeah, the old way, stuffing that impossibly huge trunk onto the train, that's officially over. The new way involves weighing your bags, screening them, and paying for extra luggage. It might seem like a small change, but it's part of a much bigger trend of formalizing and managing systems. So get ready to weigh your bags, and maybe, just maybe, some of your life choices.
Okay, so we've seen the pressure cooker at home, and we've seen the blueprints designed to relieve some of that pressure. Now, let's zoom way out. Let's head for the world stage and Section 3, the global chessboard. Because how India handles things at home is deeply, deeply connected to how it plays the game abroad.
Now this is where things get really fascinating. On the surface, you see two separate diplomatic events. China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi is in Delhi, trying to warm up relations. At the exact same time, our External Affairs Minister, S.J. Shankar, is in Moscow. Folks, these are not coincidences. This is a classic diplomatic balancing act, multi-alignment in action. As the United States puts economic pressure on India, India makes a very visible show of the fact that it has other powerful friends. It's sending a clear message to Washington, not with a strongly worded letter, but with flight paths.
And while India is playing its own complex game of chess, other pieces are definitely moving around the board. Look at Iran. Feeling the intense squeeze of sanctions, it's cautiously returning to talks with the UN's nuclear watchdog. And then you have Australia making a very clear move by canceling the visa of a controversial lawmaker to signal its firm stance against extremist politics. The whole world is constantly shifting, with nations jockeying for advantage.
But maybe the most surprising move on this entire global board comes from a player you might not expect. Google's parent company, Alphabet. They're getting into the nuclear power business. Nope, I'm not kidding. They are partnering with a company called Kairos Power, and their goal is to build an advanced nuclear reactor to power the grid by 2030. This is a huge, huge deal.
So why is this so incredibly important? It's simple, really. Alphabet's entire global empire runs on one thing: massive, power-hungry data centers. They need enormous amounts of energy. So when a company that is that thirsty for electricity makes a massive bet on advanced nuclear power, it's more than just a business decision. It is one of the clearest, loudest signals you could possibly get about where the world's clean energy future is heading.
Okay, let's bring our focus back home again for Section 4, Power, Press, and People. This section is all about the internal machinery of the country, the political contests, the crucial role of the media, and how well our systems of governments are actually working for the people.
First up, let's talk politics. The race for the vice president's office is heating up. And well, the math here tells a pretty straightforward story. The ruling NDA coalition looks like it has the numbers locked up, with an estimated 423 votes. That's comfortably more than the 392 they need to win. The opposition's candidate, a former Supreme Court judge named B. Sudarshan Reddy, is facing a real uphill battle with around 313 votes in his corner.
So, what's the strategy here? If you know you probably can't win on pure numbers, what do? Well, you change the nature of the fight. By choosing a widely respected former judge, the opposition is trying to frame this election not as a simple numbers game, which they know they're likely to lose, but as a larger ideological battle over constitutional values and the independence of our institutions. It's a smart strategic move to make a bigger point.
And now we turn to a real flashpoint in the relationship between state power and the press. The Assam police have filed sedition charges against journalists from the online news portal The Wire. But here is the absolutely incredible irony. On the very same day that press organizations are lining up to condemn these charges, the Supreme Court of India is actively questioning the constitutional validity of the sedition law itself. The timing is just wild, and it perfectly highlights the deep friction and the ongoing national debate about press freedom.
But it's not all conflict and friction. Let's look at a story of governance that is going incredibly right. Take a look at this number, 11.35 minutes. What is that? That is the new record for the average emergency response time set by the Coimbatore City Police in Tamil Nadu for the first half of this month. That is unbelievably fast.
I mean, we all know that in a real emergency, every single second counts. What this shows is a public service that isn't just getting by, but is actually excelling. They're setting a new benchmark for the entire state and maybe even the country to follow. It's a fantastic reminder of what is possible when a system is running at peak efficiency. And all of that brings us to our final section for today, Section 5, Stories of a Billion. After talking about these huge systems, massive policies, and incredible pressures, it's time to zoom all the way in on the people who are at the very heart of this nation.
This is really the ultimate question, isn't it? After we've picked apart the infrastructure, the laws, the diplomacy, and the politics, what are the actual people doing? How are they innovating? How are they achieving? How are they carving out their own space and shaping their own corners of this giant, complex, incredible country? Let's take a look. Our first story begins with a single number, 4,000. That is how many homes in Kashmir are now part of an amazing waste management model. And the whole thing started with just one person, an engineer named Mohad Amir Khan, who built a single compost pit in his own backyard. And from that one single compost pit, he's built a business that has now generated 80 lakh rupees in revenue. This is grassroots innovation at its absolute finest. It's one person literally turning garbage into gold and solving a major problem for his entire community. It's a brilliant example of someone not just talking about change, but actually being the change. And from grassroots innovation, let's turn to some world-class inspiration from the world of sports. We are seeing incredible excellence from shooter Manu Bhaker, who just keeps winning, adding 2 more bronze medals to her collection at the Asian Championship. And over in cricket, we're seeing a clear signal about the future of leadership, with the board anointing the brilliant Shubman Gill as the next man in line by making him vice-captain for the Asia Cup.
So there you have it. What started out this morning looking like a completely random list of headlines. Floods in airports, diplomats and cricketers, they're all threads in the same rich tapestry. It's the story of a nation under enormous pressure, a nation that's responding with huge plans, clever moves on the world stage, and the absolutely unstoppable innovation of its own people. Our goal, always, is to help you see those connections, fostering thinkers, not followers.
We really hope that by connecting all these dots for you, we've given you a clearer, more complete picture of the world today. Our entire mission here at OneRead is to provide exactly this kind of context: calm, factual analysis, free from all the noise and panic. And honestly, the only way we can continue to do that is with your support.
When you become a member, you're not just buying a subscription. You're really joining a community that believes in independent, ad-free journalism. You're helping us build a space that is dedicated to clarity, where we can just focus on the facts without worrying about corporate or political influence. If you value this approach to the news, we'd be so grateful if you'd consider joining us. For more explainers just like this one, make sure to follow us on Spotify and YouTube. We are back every single morning at 8 a.m. with a fresh look at the headlines that matter. Thank you so much for joining us. Namaskar.